Dr. Garrett Smith, the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts. And we are here with another Love Your Liver live stream. My kids were making fun of me this weekend. They were like, and from around these YouTube parts and stuff, they were making fun of my intro. I thought it was funny. Anyway, so we are here today. I'm going to do a testimonial. I'm going to read a testimonial from one of our... Oh, wait, what is going on? There is a... Okay, sorry, there was an echo because I had the live stream video and there was like a 3-second delay. I was hearing myself in the background. Sorry about that. So that hasn't happened yet. Anyway, we're going to go over a 2-year testimonial, and then we're going to go into more subscriber Q&A because my life has been so busy lately that I haven't had time to do the topics as much as I would like. So we're going to do a testimonial so you guys can see. So for those of you who have done like fad diets, trendy diets, the big name things that are out there, if you haven't noticed, usually people are giving their testimonials for it in a couple weeks, in a month, maybe 3 months. We here in the Love Your Liver approach and toxic bile theory, we want testimonials at years. Now, a funny thing was that just came out recently is Sean Baker said there is no long-term research on carnivore. And some carnivores got very, very, very upset about him saying that honest truth. And other people were saying, yeah, that's science. Like, that's the real data. Now, do we have tons of long-term research on a low vitamin A diet? No. Is that stopping us from getting people better? No. Science follows the actual thought leaders and the people out in the trenches doing the work. How else would scientists come up with their ideas to study it? So anyway, we like year-long testimonials, like 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and on, and that stuff. And we got Grant out there leading the way at like 9 years, and he's doing great. So, and he still says he's getting better and better. Yeah, Grant Genereux, his website is ggenereux.blog. He has his 3 free ebooks about, 2 of them are on vitamin A toxicity. One of them is on breast cancer and its relationship likely to vitamin A toxicity. I do not suggest the forum there. It has been infested with trolls and haven't found it really valuable. But if you want to go there, you can. I mean, there's no shortage of crappy places to go on the internet, is there? So anyway, he doesn't control the forum. He just kind of lets it organically do its thing. And anybody who's been around the internet long enough knows that if you lay hands off of something, it tends to degenerate, kind of like the shouting down kind of techniques that people will use. So anyway, back to, let me go find the testimonial. Joe, you don't need to switch to the window yet. So I forgot to pull this up before we started. So let me get that. Yeah, here we go. Here's what we're going to do. Don't switch yet, Joe. All right, I should have had this prepared, but. Okay, so let's now, Joe, you can switch. Okay. There we go. Okay. So here we go. I just made a new doc for this. This is someone who is in the program. They have referred tons of people to the program. Oh, I can zoom in on it. Sure, why not? So this is a person, they've been in the program for 2 years, working with me directly for 2 years. They have sent many, many clients my way. And after you read this, you'll understand why. I'm always very, very grateful to any and all of the people out there who are sending me lots of clients. There's eatbeautiful.net, Megan Stevens, there's Wardy Harmon of the Traditional Cooking School, and there's others. I don't say names in these testimonials because I just like to leave them a little privacy. This is posted in the Love Your Liver network, so people who are in the Love Your Liver network know exactly who this is, but I don't like to just put it out there on the internet. So here we go. This is my 2-year testimonial for Garrett Smith. I did one in about a year. So here is about a year plus later than that. So this is a 2-year testimonial. My primary complaints coming in. So, well, let me just start with this, folks. When people come in and they're doing a consultation with me, yes, I do want to know what their issues are. But I do not need like a detailed timeline of people's lives. And I'll honestly tell you that if people did exactly what I said in terms of trying different supplements, taking the dose that we look at the testing combined with how they react to it, and if they did all the things that I said and they listened to me and they listened to their body, I'm going to tell you, I almost don't need to know what somebody's problem is. And this is going to sound weird to people because they like to ask me, do you have a protocol for this? Do you have a protocol for this? Do you have a protocol for this? No, I don't. Have you ever worked with this? No, maybe not. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. Does that matter? No, because your liver's health and the toxicity of your bile and the leakiness of your toxic bile is what is creating all of these problems, the toxicities, the deficiencies, the toxic leaky bile. We fix these things and the health problems fix themselves. So like when you see the list I'm about to read, in our initial consult and in our follow-up consults with this person, I might have said with some of these issues, I might have said, well, make sure you're doing the topical magnesium, or make sure you're working on the potassium. Or, yeah, if somebody has like joint pains, I'd be like, really make sure you're avoiding the nightshades. Like, so I'll emphasize certain things that are all part of the program, just to make sure they're doing them, but it's not a protocol for an individual condition. Okay, so here's the list. So like we did not do a protocol for each of these issues that got better. Okay, so here we go. My primary complaints coming in here are or were hormone balancing / PMS, hypothyroid, digestion issues, constipation, cramping, bloating, and sensitive to many foods, histamine intolerance, headaches, sleep / insomnia, fatigue, leg / foot cramps, and nerve pain / inflammation. Pretty much everything is better. But lately, with different things I've learned here, I'm doing significantly better. In addition to vitamin A toxicity, another major issue is copper toxicity. Now, just so you know, folks, this person, I'm not holding this person accountable. I never capitalize vitamin A because I don't want to give it any more respect than it deserves. So we do capitalize the A, but I definitely don't capitalize vitamin. And I usually put quotes around it as in vitamin. Okay, so here we go. Due to copper toxicity getting stirred up, which is a common thing for this person and many, many people out there, I haven't been able to take any of the big minerals in my world, zinc, molybdenum, selenium. She just listed them right here. Nor am I able to eat high zinc meats like beef or dark meat poultry. So potassium and magnesium are my staples, and I can't overstate how significant they are in my healing journey. They help me so much and have since the beginning. So I want you to understand here. So for people who are like thinking that we just push these zinc and selenium and molybdenum and we have to use them, this person is so sensitive to zinc stirring up their copper that they can't even eat dark meat poultry. So what do we do? Do I try to force zinc into this person? No. She can't take any of those supplements without a negative reaction. Like I think insomnia is a big one for this person. If they eat any zinc, they start getting insomnia. They may start getting tired. So she doesn't do it. And that's fine. Well, that's fine for her. If you need zinc and you don't get enough zinc, which you're probably not going to get from food these days, you're never going to catch up. And you're just going to stay zinc deficient, which has its own issues. So this person is doing the testing with me, and so is this person low in zinc? Yes. Can they take a zinc supplement? No. So do we make them take a zinc supplement? No, we work on the detox more and let the body get rid of stuff at its own pace. And what will happen over time, she will likely be able to start taking the supplements because she's less toxic and the dumps are smaller. So then she can take them and maybe move things a little faster. And even if she couldn't ever take them, that's fine. We are only here to get people better. We are not here to make them take anything. If somebody, we have one person on the program who's getting much better doing an all muscle meat diet and psyllium husk. Even though there are now people out there claiming that psyllium husk is super high in copper and it's going to cause all sorts of problems, which it's not. The people stating that sun fiber has tons of copper in it and psyllium causes copper problems are angry and libelous, and I'm sorry they made a bad decision in the program on their choices, and now they're trying to blame everything but their own choices. So anyway, that's a whole nother issue. So let's go into this. This is a very important thing. Now, we have an EMF video, so Joe, if you want to pull up the EMF video, that'd be great, because that is where, if you want to get what she's about to talk about here, that's where you find the links. That's how you can get free shipping and a discount and all sorts of stuff from the lovely Sarah. So definitely contact her if you want to do this. I love this stuff, especially people who are copper toxic tell me that the EMF stuff, if they introduce it slowly and they introduce it right, they feel better. So here's this little testimonial on this part. Okay. Then when Dr. Smith introduced the EMF remediation about 6 months ago, we did it right away. I had to ease into it over 3 months because it gave me strong detox reactions. The last detox reaction after installing the biggest piece of equipment, the last item, which is probably the box that goes right by your smart meter, was hearing modem-like sounds in my head. To me, it seemed like pent-up energy was finally discharging. She thought it might be copper. It was pretty strong for a few days and then got less and less for a few weeks until it went away. But even while adjusting, I started to sleep better as well as feel better during the day. More energy, more ability to work. No more electronic sounds in my head. I would have thought this was weird if it hadn't happened to me, with the smiley face. So yeah, that EMF stuff, check out that EMF video. That's where the link to Sarah Viao is. I think I'm saying her last name right. Now we have, after that, Dr. Smith introduced nicotinic acid, flush niacin, not niacinamide, not niacinamide riboside, not anything else, not NAD, nicotinic acid, flush niacin. And that helped me have more energy, reduce food cravings, and sleep better. I'm not sleeping great yet, but I'm sleeping quite decently. This is a significant improvement even so, and now that I'm sleeping better, I realize how important it is to overall healing. It makes me feel almost normal to have a decent night's sleep. I also increased potassium in recent months, and that's helped with digestion, energy, nerve pain, and muscle cramps. So remember, this person is working with me, and when you work with me on a testing and consultation package, you get access to my weekly, and Nathan, my colleague practitioner in this, we have 2 office hour sessions a week for active testing and consultation clients. So you get the opportunity to ask me and Nathan if you wanted. You could do both. You could go to both office hours. You have the opportunity twice a week to ask me questions directly and to ask Nathan questions directly, so we can troubleshoot and help you move forward. Who else does that? 6 months, once a week. What is that? 20. I mean, the easy math, 6 times 4 is 24. That's 24 opportunities to ask me direct questions about what you're doing and what you should do. Okay. So due to a finger injury, a detached tendon, and on Dr. Smith's advice, I started taking serapeptase to help heal that. Surprisingly, it gave me a great deal of relief for the nerve pain / inflammation in my back, neck, and right arm / shoulder too, such that I am able to exercise and walk again. Serapeptase it's helpful. It's not something we want to rely on long-term, but it can help. I definitely like to use it after trauma or after surgeries. So, and finally, I had been having a certain amount of salt, as in sodium chloride, in addition to the salt in my food each meal. One day I felt like maybe it was too much. I think the Lord was telling me this. So I reduced the extra sodium, and this stopped me having to use the restroom multiple times at night, which also helps my sleep. The winky emoji, right? Not that sodium is bad. It just wasn't in balance for me. This is very, very very important, folks. If somebody says you should take a certain amount of sodium a day, they don't know what they're doing. I saw a video on Instagram the other day. It was a guy saying every guy should take 50 milligrams of zinc a day. No, that's not how humans work. Every car has 6 cylinders. No, some of them have 4 and some of them have 8. Like, they're not the same car. You are a human. Like I'll think of all the cars on the road that are internal combustion engines. They run on gasoline. They all generally have similar parts and they function the same, but little things can be different, and you do different things and you use slightly different parts to make them run. They are not totally different cars. They're generally the same, but each one of those cars needs different things and different amounts of things. I am starting to really believe that a lot of people are getting way too much salt. I am starting to believe that. I'm starting to believe that I think a lot of people need a lot more fluids because they are they're consuming way too much sodium. I'm not saying to go low sodium. I'm saying I think a lot of people are doing way more than they need. But some people need more. Oh gosh, some cars need more gas to go 100 miles and some cars need less gas to go 100 miles. This should not be like foreign to your mind. You should be like, oh yeah, everybody needs salt, but they need different amounts at different times. And I'm also starting to think that as people get better, they will also need more salt. Need less salt. And this is exactly what she's saying here. She started going, oh, maybe it's too much. For those of you who have watched me a lot, this is the idea of something turning on you, where something really worked for a while, and then you get better, and then all of a sudden you don't need it as much, or it actually makes you feel a little worse to get that much. So then you have to reduce. And what I tell people is often your intuition, if you really try to listen, will tell you. And what did she say? She said she got some feeling in her that she might be on too much salt. So she reduced it and she had better results. So the last part, in summary, it's hard to point out just one thing that's helping. Yes, yet I can definitely say, quote, I'm doing a lot better. And everything I've mentioned above, in addition to charcoal, has been an important piece of the puzzle. I think the most telling is that I want to do things now, like exercise, reading, crafts, home improvement, and I even enjoy house cleaning and making our home nice. Before coming here and for the first year into the Love Your Liver program, mostly all I wanted to do was sleep/nap. This is true improvements, folks. When you didn't want to do activities and all of a sudden your body starts craving them. There is no deeper sign of improvement in your health. Okay, so here we go. I'm so grateful for being able to talk to Dr. Smith almost weekly at office hours while wading through different things to adjust and try. His insights always surprise and impress me. Side note, in my most recent testing, even though vitamin A took a big drop, other toxin levels went up in both the hair test, that's HTMA, and blood. Since I'm feeling better on all fronts, Dr. Smith said is probably a good sign that my liver is able to and is releasing more toxins, and that my body might be making and getting more bile out. The explanation would be different if I was feeling worse, but I'm not. I'm feeling better. This person pays a lot of attention to what I say, and I will tell people that I do not care if your labs temporarily look worse, if your symptoms are overall improving and we are making progress in your health. I have several things I tell people about this. Would you rather you have perfect labs and feel like hot garbage? Or would you rather your labs don't look great for a little bit, but you feel so much better? What do functional medicine practitioners do? Do they really care about your symptoms, or do they just care about getting your labs to look like they want? They're trying to give you perfect labs and not really care that much about how you're feeling. They just look at your labs. They say, this is not in the optimal range. They give you $500 of supplements. And maybe your labs look better. Maybe they don't. But even if they do look better, the practitioner's like, great, these things look better. And oftentimes the client or the patient is sitting there going, but I don't feel any different. And it's costing me $500 a month in supplements. and my labs look better. But as another, I went to a seminar once, and the guy talking was saying, always ask people what their major complaints are, what their issues are, and try to fix those, because that's why they're coming. If you're a practitioner out there, understand that your job is to improve the symptoms that people are coming there with. It's not to make their labs look better. It's to improve how they're actually feeling. And this is so weird that this is like something I have to explain, right? But then, yes, you could make their symptoms better by giving them drugs or by giving them supplements that are actually slowing their detox. So you could make them feel better quickly, but long term, they're going to fall apart. Or we can say, well, we're going to do the right things for you. Fixing the problem, truly fixing the problem, is a marathon, not a sprint. And settle in for what we're going to do. And if they do that, and they understand and they trust in the process, and they really pay attention to, are things improving? Usually they're seeing things improve if they're honest with themselves. It may not be completely gone, but it's improving. And then they have the motivation to continue. So one of the problems is when people do not pay attention to their body and they push through stuff. We don't push through anything generally. Like if we talk about the niacin flush, that's not really pushing through. It's just that is the nature of flush niacin. You're going to flush. There's nothing that you necessarily push through because you don't feel worse and worse. Well, if somebody, let's say somebody was taking flush niacin and they were like, I'm taking this and I'm feeling worse and worse and worse. Then we go, you need to cut back or maybe take a little break, and then we're going to try a different approach. So again, when I say we don't push through things, we generally don't. But other people, like the most delusional thing I've ever heard would be like where a practitioner, conventional or alternative, tells somebody they're taking a supplement or they're taking a med, and the patient's like, I feel terrible on this. And then the practitioner goes, oh, just keep taking it. It'll get better. It'll get better. When in the world, in your life or anything you've ever seen, does that happen? When does that happen? Don't expect that. So anyway, but yes, getting a lot of people who are very, very sick, some of the things they did to themselves slowed their bile production. And so things don't actually show up as high in their blood tests because things are stuck in their liver, and they're not even leaking as much toxic bile into their blood because copper's stuck in their liver, vitamin A is stuck in their liver. It's not coming out. As we start getting them to make more bile, which is part of becoming healthier, then they make more bile, they can leak more, and we may see it on the labs. Yes. But their bile overall is less toxic, so they have less symptoms. Does this make sense? The leaks are not gone, but the bile is overall less toxic. Even though their labs might look a little more toxic, it's the combination of everything. When you're thinking of toxic metals in the bile, when you're thinking of vitamin A in the bile and vitamin E and toxic copper and toxic manganese and all this stuff. We don't test all of these things because that would just get price prohibitive, and it doesn't change anything. It doesn't change what we do. Just like when I say I don't change things for different diseases. Like if I knew a person was super high in copper, we're definitely going to try zinc, and we're going to see how the person responds. It's as simple as that. Somebody who's like really low copper, it's stuck in their liver. It's absolutely stuck in their liver and it's not coming out. So those people, often we have to be very careful with zinc, because as we start putting in zinc, it starts kicking the copper out of the liver, and then it goes into the blood, and then they don't feel good. So here we go. Oh, I'm going to fix this one little thing. It's LYL community. Anyway, she says, I'm very thankful to Dr. Smith and the whole Love Your Liver community. Thank you for being so good to me and to my family too. It all trickles down. God bless you all. And she added an edit. Other things. Her keratosis pilaris rash, still mostly gone. So for those of you who don't know, that is the chicken skin most commonly on the back of the arms. You'll read everywhere on the internet that they say that's a vitamin A deficiency. They're completely wrong. It's a vitamin A toxicity symptom and probably a zinc deficiency symptom. And as we fix this, the problem goes away. And we're looking at years, not somebody taking a little bit of vitamin A for their KP and it disappears for a couple months and then it comes back. That's what they do. We fix the problem and it goes away after months and years and it stays gone. Okay. So we have food sensitivity still getting better. Histamine intolerance, still not an issue any longer. People always ask me, what do you do for histamine? I detox people and I give them the right nutrients. I don't have a histamine approach. Histamine sensitivity is copper toxicity. That's what it is. Tooth sensitivity gone. Hair loss reduced. Some age spots on my face are lighter. My facial skin was looking pale and tired. Now it seems like I'm getting a natural glow back. Still off thyroid medications and bioidentical hormones and feeling better than when I was on them. Let me repeat that one. Still off thyroid medications. I believe she got off the thyroid medications while she was with me. And she got off her bioidentical hormones. And she's feeling better than when she was on them. Do I treat hormones? No. Do I fix hormones? Yeah. Still no headaches. So let's be clear here. When I say still, it means I got those results in the first year and they are still resolved to this day. So when you think that did she have to wait 2 years to get these improvements? No. I do like when you guys who are in the Love Your Liver program or you're out there doing our stuff and you're talking to people and you say, well, this process takes years. But something you need to tell people also is that you will get improvements all along the way. They'll just be partial, like if let's say you had, I don't know, let's just say somebody had acne and they normally have, I'm just making stuff up here, like, so for an example, and they normally have 5 zits. Okay. And as they're going along, they start the Love Your Liver program and then they're 2 months in and they're down to 4 zits and a couple more months and then 3 zits and a couple more months and then 2 zits. Do you see where I'm saying? The acne's not gone, but it's improving. And then eventually you get down to 0 zits. This is what we're talking about. So do things improve all along the way? Absolutely. If you have big issues, they may take a while to go away. It's all connected. This is it. So when I say it's all connected, the toxicities are connected, the deficiencies are connected, the toxic bile leakage is connected. It is all connected. And when we fix those problems, which are the cause of all of these chronic problems, the chronic problems go away. I don't need to know somebody's vitamin A level in their blood. I don't have to know it at all. Technically, I don't even have to know their copper toxicity level. I don't need to know their copper. I don't need to know their manganese. I don't need to know these things because what we are doing is fixing the root cause of all of it. And some people cannot believe that health can be so simple yet not easy. So, Joe, we can come off of this. Let's go back to the chat. So that was the testimonial. So I got to explain a lot in there. I'm really happy that we got to do that. Let me do this and then we'll get rid of that. Okay, so let me go here and then we will get, so remember, super chats are enabled. So if you have a question you really want answered, post super chat and it goes to the top of the list. I don't know if we have any. I'll go and I'll look. Joe, if we got any super chats, let me know. No super chats yet. Okay, cool. So then I just start at the top of the list and I go down. Okay, so hello everyone. Mathay asks, doctor, if we take soluble fiber or anything that dumps bile like niacin, when does the bile dump? When should we time our charcoal to soak it up most efficiently? I don't know. I wish I had an easy answer for that. I don't. It's generally the idea with, let's say, charcoal is you would want to take it. I mean, if you take it, we're soluble. I mean, the soluble fiber that comes down that you eat is most likely going to trigger a bile dump from that bolus, that eating of the soluble fiber. And that soluble fiber it's going to soak up what it can of that dump. But in terms of timing charcoal to catch bile dumps, like unless you know when it happens and you experiment with it, then it's going to be individual. Like a lot of people dump bile in the middle of the night, like 3 a.m. How many of you wake up at 3 a.m.? So when that happens, there's not much you can do. I mean, you can wake up and take some charcoal right then, see if you can catch it, but there is no tried and true. Now, the one thing that some people can do with charcoal during the day is you could split up your doses. So you're taking like pulsed doses. Just, somebody could even put it in a water bottle and then just drink, shake it up and drink from that through the day. So there's just this almost constant stream, or at least more constant stream of charcoal going through their intestines that is more likely to be able to catch the charcoal. If somebody was trying to catch the 3 a.m. bile dump, they could take the charcoal before they go to bed. See if that works. If it doesn't work, they could, I've been over this before, but they could when they wake up and they're like, oh my gosh, I just woke up from, it's the 3 a.m. bile dump. They could have the charcoal on their nightstand, stir it up, slam it down, and see if they can catch that. Or if you knew you woke up at, let's say, 3 a.m. every morning for a bile dump, you're probably waking up after the bile dump has happened, and then the bile has leaked into your blood, and then it's causing you to wake up because it's gotten to your brain or your kidneys and your adrenals. So then you could wake up, you could set an alarm to wake up a half hour before it happens, and then slam the charcoal from your nightstand and then see if that catches it. So and one of those might work for people. One of them might work for somebody and one of them works for somebody else. There is no set thing for this. Like if you knew, let's say you had I've talked about this before with blood sugar. Let's say you know that every afternoon at 2 p.m. you crash. You're like, how can I stop that? Well, it could be one of two things. It could be a blood sugar crash, which would mean you probably need to work harder on your topical magnesium and your potassium, and maybe work on your foods at lunch, and maybe not drink so much water. I go over things like this in my hydration video in the Love Your Liver program, which some people have said is worth the cost of the entire program. But you could have charcoal. If you thought it was a bile dump related thing, you could take the charcoal a half hour before that happens. You could eat an apple a half hour before that crash happens, and you might be able to abort the crash. But we kind of have to, there are no hard and fast rules for this. Sometimes I think when people take, I'm wondering if taking charcoal with like niacin is catching the bile dump. I don't know if it's catching the bile dump well enough. It may be too, like, think of it, if the niacin and the charcoal come down together and the niacin triggers the bile dump whenever it does, it's possible the bile is behind it. Like the charcoal already moved past it, and where the bile comes into the intestines, it's already by. So this is why I do something like if somebody was going to eat something they knew they shouldn't, we talk about a charcoal sandwich. This is as far as I know, this is my concept. If it's somebody else came up with it before me, let me know. But it would be, you take charcoal before you eat the bad thing, and you take charcoal after you eat the bad thing. And then you are guaranteed that whatever you ate is going to hit charcoal, pretty much. So what this did for me is it got rid of, I used to get symptoms when I would eat fish. I would go to bed, I would have palpitations, and I would not be able to sleep until like midnight. And I started doing the charcoal sandwich. Boom, problems didn't happen anymore. Am I going to eat fish? No, I don't trust fish at all. I'm not going to try to, if I was going to eat fish, would I do the charcoal sandwich? Yes. Am I going to choose to eat fish? No. So that's what I got. Julie's first time on chat. Hello, Julie. Hello, Hope and Monica and everybody, Sarah. There we go. So let me see. There was a super chat. Let me find that one. There it is. Okay, Johnny. Good morning, doctor. I had 2 spontaneous pneumothoraxes as a boy, resolved with surgery. I was wondering if they could be linked to toxicity. Thanks. Spontaneous pneumothorax. That, well, I can try. We'll see. Let me go. Let him cook. So I'm going to go to Joe. I'm going to go to that window. Let's go. So here we'll just do pneumothorax. Let's just do zinc. Oh, well, let me share the window. Sorry, I'll fix that. Got it. Window. There we go. Okay, should be good now. Yeah, don't inhale zinc. No. So nothing there. Let me go look. A spontaneous pneumothorax, the idea behind like toxicity or deficiency with it would be that it was something weakened the tissue. And so, more likely people tend to think of these with some sort of trauma. Well, this would not be good. Chronic beryllium disease after exposure to low beryllium content copper. That would be really not good. Let's just throw a Hail Mary. See if bile's connected. Why would pneumothorax? Hold on. I didn't want to do that, but oh, here. Okay, I'll do that, Joe. Here, let me look up this. I'll just go over this. For those of you who don't know what pneumothorax is, so accumulation of air or gas in the pleural cavity, so that's between the two membranes in the lung, occurring as a result of disease or injury, or sometimes induced to collapse the lung in the treatment of tuberculosis and other lung diseases. So a condition in which air or other gas is present in the cavity of the chest, called also pneumothorax. Okay, so look at this picture. Do you see how? Let me see if I can see this a little bigger. So the collapsed lung, pneumothorax. So you see that. So normally the lung is out here. So there's 2 membranes out here, and inside of there is the pleural space. So the lung is supposed to fill this up, but a pneumothorax means it kind of collapses and it pulls away from. So you have the gases in the pleural space. So this is not air you can breathe. Okay? Or like here, this is the normal lung, this is the pneumothorax lung. There's air in a space in the lung, a collapsed lung is what they call it. So okay. So I saw this. Okay, so percutaneous through the skin, cholecystostomy, I believe that's removing the gallbladder. This is for gallbladder attacks, right? Inflammation of the gallbladder. But this is just complications occur in nearly 10% of cases. So they're working on the gallbladder, right? Including hemorrhage, hemobilia, bile in the blood, pneumothorax, or bile leaks. So I'm just wondering if they're actually puncturing the lung, because that would seem like that surgeon needs to go back to school if they're puncturing the lung while trying to go after the gallbladder. That's a pretty big L to miss that. Okay. So we're starting to see what looks like a little bit of connection to bile. Oh, sorry, I didn't get the link. Let me get the link. Let me do this. So there's the first link. I'm not saying this is not super like strong connection so far, but it is starting to look a little bit. Oh, I forgot to say, Johnny, thank you for the super chat. Let's just go down here and look. No abstract available. Awesome. Let's see if the full text links work. So there's no abstract, but they've got full text links. So here we go. We have, unfortunately, so this woman was having endoscopic retrograde cholangio. That's related to the bile ducts pancreatography. So I believe they're imaging the bile ducts in the pancreas because of septic cholangitis. Oh, wait, do you all remember the anaphylaxis video where I went over the connections between sepsis and anaphylaxis? And here we have septic, which is supposed to be bacterial, like toxicity from bacteria or some other pathogen. Bile duct inflammation. With acute calculus, this is like calculus is stones, cholecystitis, so acute gallbladder stones. So this lady has super toxic bile. Okay. It's eating away at everything down there. Okay. Unfortunately, incidental duodenal, so that's the intestines, perforation, so they punctured her small intestine, occurred doing duodenoscope intubation by our trainee endoscopist. Folks, if you don't know, if you're going and getting colonoscopies, like you need to read about intestinal perforation with colonoscopies. It's not that rare of an occurrence. I am not going to let them shove any camera up my butt unless I'm like bleeding actively. It's not them going up there to find. If I had significant lower bowel problems, I might go do it. I'm not planning on having that anytime because my guts are better than they've ever been. But I'd like routine colonoscopies. No way. Way more risk than they're worth. And no, I would not do a virtual colonoscopy because that's a CAT scan. And that's probably like 100 to 200 x-rays worth of radiation into your guts. No, I'm not doing that either. So trying to find out when the pneumothorax happened. At almost 40 minutes before completion of the procedure, the patient developed marked abdominal distension, low blood pressure, and desaturation. Well, that sounds like what we were talking about in terms of anaphylaxis and sepsis as related to bile in that live stream, doesn't it? And then we had tension pneumoperitoneum with right pneumothorax was confirmed with fluoroscopy. So it seems that when they punctured things and things that were not supposed to leak into the blood leaked into the blood, then we had a right pneumothorax. So, I don't need to look at that. Y'all don't need to look at that. Okay, so anyway, let's go see if there's anything else. Bilothorax. What is that? me get the link. Did this have a pneumo? Oh, this is wounds. Suspected bite wounds. Yeah, not worried about that one. Anyway, they're not going to be like when the pneumothorax happens, kind of like with when we were talking about sepsis and anaphylaxis. They're not exactly going and looking for like nutritional markers. So, but there seems to be some connection between bile leakage and potentially pneumothorax when they're doing those surgeries and they leak a bunch of bile into the system and then they see a pneumothorax happen. So pneumothorax following insect sting anaphylaxis. So if you haven't seen the anaphylaxis episode, it was a couple ago. We showed that there's quite a lot of anaphylaxis that can happen without anything allergic happening. But we did show it when the bile leaks into the system, we can have anaphylaxis. There are cholestatic conditions where bile is leaking, and then they see anaphylaxis, and they're like, we don't know what causes it. And you're like, well, we are like toxic bile leaking into the system. So this is why, like, okay, so in that testimonial, when we're saying, when I have a whole live stream on anaphylaxis being connected to bile in the blood, and then I talk about histamine, and I talk about mast cells, and I talk about these all being connected to toxicity, and then we have testimonials of histamine stuff getting better, food sensitivities getting better. We have a woman who thinks she may be over her true terrible celiac disease. Do I treat celiac? No, I don't treat it. We do the same stuff. Like, think of it as like you have, again, the car analogy. You change the oil, you put enough gas in it, you get new tires, and you get them aligned, and you get them, rotated, and you do the basic normal things on all the cars. But all the cars have different tires, and they use sometimes different gas, and they use different oil, and there's different maintenance schedules, and there's all of these things. So when I say that we do the same things, it would be like a mechanic talking to a mechanic, and the mechanic's like, yeah, we basically do the same things to all cars to keep them running. But then when you talk to him deeper, he would be like, well, these cars need more of this, and these cars need more of this. And oh, you never do this to that car. Just like with this person's testimonial, they can't take zinc. They can't even take high zinc foods. That car can't take zinc very well. Okay, so we don't put zinc in that car. But it's the global approach. She's working the global approach, and she's getting better. She may be doing it different. Actually, I think she is the only person in the program who is that sensitive to zinc. A unique car. And all we have to do, we listen to the person's feedback, and the person watches what makes them feel better and what makes them feel worse. It's like we're figuring out the owner's manual to her car. And now for the rest of her life, she will have her own owner's manual, and she will know what works for her and what doesn't. It's not take 50 milligrams of zinc a day. That is the least intelligent approach to nutrition I've ever heard. So if you ever see protocols or everybody needs to do this much of this a day, you're not talking to intelligent people who actually work with clients and listen to what their client or care what their clients have to say. That's what I have to say about that. Okay, so yeah, it's probably bile, some sort of toxic leaky bile. If there was other stuff, Johnny, that was going along with your health at that time, whether you were getting pokies or whether you were, taking medications or other stuff, like let's just do something fun. Let me do this. Let's type in retinoic. What am I doing? What am I looking for? Oh, pneumothorax. Let's just see if Accutane or Retin-A has ever caused pneumothorax. We're tossing it out there. Not much. Ooh, wait. Let's go look up. Let's go back here. Let's go liver injury pneumothorax. We don't want any of the injury stuff. Spontaneous pneumothorax in COVID patients. What is COVID? What is the COOF? It's a massive leak of toxic bile into your system. For whatever reason, whatever EMF trigger or something like that caused a massive dump of toxic bile from your liver that then leaked into your system, that is going all around your system, causing you all of these problems. So if we were to find that spontaneous pneumothorax was connected, subcutaneous emphysema, that's interesting. Pneumomediastinum. So yes, oh wow, this is, I'm not going to look all those up, but pneumothorax from a toxic bile dump into the system, which is what this is. Oh, and did you guys hear now that the CDC is saying that the COOF should be treated just like the flu? Was it all just made up? Was it all just an operation of psychology? Was this actually real? Did they induce a mass hallucination and mass placebo effect? I don't know. But if the COOF went away and it's now just the flu, and the flu went away during COOF, if you remember, So they develop a pneumothorax, which is normally induced by trauma. I think we found our answer. So yeah, it's toxic bile. Yep. Okay. Yeah, so I think we got that. Let me go back to the questions, Joe. You can stop sharing that now. Okay, so wow, Carol, $50 super chat. Wow, very nice. Okay, I'm going to spend my time on this question. Okay. I've been getting better on the Love Your Liver program, but recently I got a burning mucus diarrhea. Okay. Blood shows very high iron despite low meat, lymphocytes, monocytes, and low leukocytes, neutrophils, and basophils. Any idea? Well, if the general thing, the two things that I would suggest you consider experimenting with diarrhea is charcoal, activated charcoal, hardwood activated charcoal. The brand I like is Zen Principle. Very easy to find on Amazon. If you ever have an attack of diarrhea and you would like to shut it down, folks, charcoal will do it. Oh, it's 50 PLN. Okay. So anyway, no big deal. But thank you very much, Carol. Anyway, all of these are appreciated. We just do this just to make the line a little easier for those who want to skip ahead in the line. It's like, Disneyland where you can get the super pass or whatever. Anyway, low iron consistently. Well, so Carol, one of the things we don't do with high iron is we do not necessarily restrict red meat. If you have high iron and a low meat diet, well, generally, folks, here's the thing. If you have iron problems, high or low, you have a liver problem. I mean, if you see me here saying this is connected to liver problems, I mean, you're going to see iron and copper and all of that stuff. People who chronically have low iron, even though they eat plenty of meat, have a liver problem. The iron is getting stuck in your liver. If you have a high iron problem, and so, Carol, we do need to know whether you're saying high serum iron or high ferritin or stuff like that. Now, a burning mucus diarrhea why does our body make mucus? Two thoughts on it. One is it's actually partially detox. Like, how could you, let's say you were breathing in pollen, which is what color again? Very orangish yellow. And it was getting stuck in your nose. And it's full of vitamin A and other polyphenols and all that stuff. How might your body try to get rid of it? Possibly by producing a bunch of mucus to move it out, and then you sneeze and you blow your nose and you're constantly trying to get this stuff out of your nose. Does it also make sense that why sinus rinses work is because they go up and they wash all that off, or they wash a lot of it off, and then you get to start with a clean slate so that you're not getting triggered by these toxic little pollen things in your nose. So is seasonal allergies or pollen allergies, is it an allergy or is it a toxicity reaction where your body's trying to get rid of it? I've talked about this before with cat and dog dander allergies. Where do a lot of people store carotenoids, vitamin A? They store it in their skin. Well, animals do it too, but you can't see your animal's skin for the most part, right? It's under hair. So let's say in this animal's skin, there's a lot of vitamin A, carotenoids, other toxins. Well, they shed that. You now have animal skin dander floating around your house. You're inhaling it into your nose. It gets stuck in your nose. It's triggering a reaction. And then you're allergic to dogs or cats. Could there be more to it? Sure. But why would it just doesn't? Allergies are a toxicity reaction. You should know that. Okay. Now, in terms of the the diarrhea, activated charcoal, and there's another probiotic out there that you could try called lactospore. Lactospore has a lot of good research on it with diarrhea. It has some research on it with constipation too. But lactospore is something that you could try. Whenever we try anything probiotic-ish, you start slowly, like a pinch, like the wet your fingertip and just open up a capsule, get a little bit of the powder and put it in there and see how you do. Okay. And then you can go up from there. Now, probiotics are one of the few things where this is one of the things where I want you to understand when we say you don't push through things, this is a little variation on it. If you try a probiotic and let's say you get a little bit symptomatic in your gut. You get a little bloaty or you get a little farty or whatever on the first day. But you also are kind of like, wait, I kind of feel better too. Then you have the okay to continue, because what the probiotics do is some of them they're cleaning up your gut, which is dirty, right? Like when you clean off your car window, you've got all these dirty paper towels. Well, you got to get rid of those. So if the bacteria goes into your gut and it starts cleaning up, there's going to be some waste products. That's normal. Things get dirtier before they get cleaner, kind of thing, even while you're cleaning them. So with probiotics, what we do is we allow like up to 2 weeks of trying it out. And what you should see, if that probiotic is good for you, is you should see the good things, the benefits go up, and the bad things that you feel going down. That means that you're cleaning up the mess, things are getting cleaner, and then you're getting the right bacteria in there that's helping you to do the right things in there. However, if you started taking a probiotic and you were like, I don't feel anything, and you get to 2 weeks and you haven't felt anything good or bad, you can finish taking it, but why keep buying it? Like people who are just taking probiotics to say they're taking a probiotic, they're just wasting their money. Then we have, if you took it and you started to feel bad and you really didn't notice any benefits, and let's say you kept taking it and you kept feeling the same bad for a couple days or whatever, or you started feeling worse as you took it, then you should stop. Doc, it hurts when I do this. Well, don't do that. Stop. I ate too many beans for a year and I never felt better. And at the end of the year, I felt worse than I did before. Well, why were you eating beans for a year? When in all the articles I say, if you don't feel good eating beans, then don't eat them. Don't go out on the internet and try to blame me for your poor decisions. Like I say, if it hurts, don't do it. Let me just add this for the people out there who have trouble understanding concepts. Just because when I say if it hurts or if it makes you feel bad, don't do it, the opposite is not true. If it feels good, do it. Do you go out and tell crackheads that? You like doing crack? Oh, keep doing it. That's the stupidest. Oh, you love drinking soda? Oh, keep doing it. No. They have manipulated our taste buds and they know how to trigger us to eat way too much of the things that we shouldn't. And we are designed to live in like survival status, which means that if you found a beehive and you find sugar or you find some big source of animal fat, we all used to be constantly living on the verge of starvation. And so if your body knows it has a super high calorie source, it tells you to eat a lot of it while you can, because it's not going to be there. This does not mean that it's necessarily good for you. You have to understand we are built for survival, and our survival mechanisms have been manipulated and corrupted to sell stuff to you. This is why I don't just say, if it feels good, do it. That's hedonism. That doesn't make sense. Just somebody's like, I like eating eggs. Okay, cool. Crackheads like crack. That doesn't mean it's good for them. I mean, this should not be hard, but people try to come back at me with that. It's like via negative. You need to look up via negativa and via positiva and understand that they are not the same. Okay, so anyway, Carol, I would say, one thing, if we were talking about immune stuff, I mean, I would be looking into potentially, I'm not going to talk doses here, but zinc, selenium, molybdenum, getting your potassium, getting your magnesium, following those parts of the program, I don't know that I would necessarily, like if it's high ferritin, folks, these concepts work to the point that if people have high ferritin, what is everybody else on the internet telling them to do? Stop eating red meat. You can only have red meat once every week or 2 weeks. And we go, the ferritin is, if you haven't seen the ferritin video on this channel, there's another live stream all about ferritin. High ferritin in the blood is a sign of toxic leaky bile. The ferritin is evidence. Ferritin is put by the liver. Iron's bound to it. It puts it into the bile. It's trying to get rid of iron that way. Ferritin is a protective protein bound to the iron to protect you from the iron, puts it into the bile. You're supposed to poop it out. If it leaks into your bloodstream, you get high ferritin. That doesn't mean you have too much iron. It means you have too much leaking. It's one of the many signs of toxic bile leakage. And as we fix this problem, we see the ferritin go down even without having to take people off of red meat. So was the problem the iron or was the problem the leaky bile? It was the leaky bile. Now, as most of us here know, anybody who tends towards diarrhea should immediately be, in my opinion, be experimenting with charcoal. That's just a given. Lactospore would be another thing. If we're talking about immune system stuff, I generally start thinking zinc. And then there would always be selenium and molybdenum, and potassium and magnesium, topical magnesium, are huge. And then sometimes you just have to ride it out. Just like we were talking about with the testimonial, it just takes time. But a burning mucus diarrhea, I mean, first of all, I would say if you ate any spicy food and you got a burning diarrhea, Taco Bell is well known for these things, I'm not saying you're eating Taco Bell, but if you ate spicy food and it comes out the other end spicy, that's just normal. Now, the other thing is that when you're dumping a lot of bile eats away at stuff. Bile eats holes in your liver. It eats holes in your bile ducts. It eats holes in your gut. It eats holes in your stomach. Bile eats holes in things. So do you imagine if you were pooping out a ton of toxic bile? First of all, would your body make mucus to protect your gut lining? Yes, it would try to make mucus as a protective barrier. Then, if something was being eaten away, it would probably not feel good, right? So if you were pooping out toxic bile and it's eating away at your starfish, it's going to hurt. So this makes sense that you may have been dumping something very toxic. Do we necessarily want to shut that down? I mean, we don't want you to feel bad. But also, if you were to take charcoal and soak it up, then you don't have to feel bad. We make sure to grab onto as much of that toxic bile as we can. Just make sure you're not constipating yourself too much with the charcoal. And then it grabs onto it, and then you poop it out. So we want to kind of, in a way, take advantage of this and get some charcoal in there, or whatever else you want to use, whether that's soluble fiber or other stuff, some binders, so to make sure that you poop it out. But otherwise, I don't normally look at white blood cells as part of my process, because if we saw high white blood cells or low white blood cells or whatever, what is our approach? It doesn't change the approach. If I see really low vitamin A or really high vitamin A, does that change my approach? It doesn't change my approach. So, yeah, I always found the whole like analyzing white blood cell numbers, that's like an acute care thing in hospitals to help people not die. It's not like a long-term thing. So yeah, I wish I had something better. And the fact that you're getting better is a very good sign. So again, do you want to feel better or do you want perfect labs? It is quite possible that as you get better, your labs look worse. The biggest mistake that some people out there make is even though I'm not saying you're doing this, Carol, but I'm saying this is something to watch out for, folks. Let's say people are feeling better and better and better, and then short term, they see their labs get worse. Short term. And then they freak out. Oh my God, oh no, my labs, and then they quit. They were watching the solution happen, and they looked at what was going on inside their body. And I don't even claim to know I'm the guy who sits there and says, honestly, sometimes I will say that I know the least of what's going on in the body. I just want to see improvements. I only care about the output. The black box theory, right? You have a black box, you put in inputs. We don't know what happens in the black box. Like we're saying the black box is inside our body. We don't know what really happens in here. And I think most of the stories that conventional medicine has told us about how the body works are probably wrong. And then you have an output. We put pokies into people. That's the input. Do we need to know exactly what they do? No. We see the output is bad. I don't need... People want me to get into the whole jabs thing and get into all that. I'm like, there's all sorts of other people who can do that and they can mentally masturbate on it all day. I don't care. This is bad. Input is that. Output is bad. Don't do it. Too much vitamin A. Bad output. Like, I don't need to know what it's doing. People are like, what's the mechanism? And I go, I don't care. I have gotten so far with this stuff because I honestly, most of the time, don't care about the mechanisms. And probably the mechanisms that they tell us are not right. The smaller the science gets, the smaller and smaller the science gets, the more wrong it is, in my opinion. So I don't have, like, okay, let me just, a quick example. The lady who is in the Love Your Liver program where we fixed her cirrhosis. Like, she doesn't have cirrhosis anymore, and her liver doctor has never seen this before. When we started, when she got off the UDCA, which is the pharmaceutical medication to kind of suppress the liver enzymes, she said, every time I get off of it, my liver enzymes get worse. Okay. I said, I think if you want to get better, you're going to have to get off that medication. You're going to have to let your liver enzymes get worse for a while. And they're probably going to. And you're going to have to ride it out and not pay attention to the labs to get better. And you know what she did? She trusted me. She saw them go up, and then they started going down. And then eventually they were back to normal, and she doesn't have cirrhosis anymore. So when people obsess about labs, most blood work is symptoms. Think of it as it's blood work symptoms. They're symptoms of, like you're saying here, you have a symptom of low lymphocytes, a symptom of low monocytes, a symptom of low leukocytes, a symptom of low neutrophils, a symptom of low basophils. Those are symptoms of something else. They are not causes. Does that make sense? So I don't go and treat those. Somebody else be like, oh, you could take echinacea to raise your whatever, white blood cells. We don't do that. We're well beyond using herbs or medications to try to push one button to make one lab value look better. This takes patience. This takes trust. This takes faith. I'm not going to deny that. You don't have to trust me. You don't have to have faith that this is going to work. You don't have to do no, and I don't mean this negatively towards you, Carol. I'm just saying anybody. Nobody has to do this. If you want to get better, you do, but you don't have to trust it. You don't have to have faith in it. You can go you can go eat organ meats. I saw them promoting organ meats for gum health today on Instagram. I'm going to make a little crude joke here, but I said next thing they're going to do is they're going to make a butt plug out of organ meats and say it fixes guys' prostates. Like, they're selling organ meats to you in every single way possible. Organ meats are cheap and thrown away for good reason. They're not good for you. Would you eat a human's liver? If cannibalism was an acceptable thing, knowing what we know about livers now, would you want to eat a human's liver? No, it'd be disgusting. It'd be full of toxins. Like, why would we eat an animal's liver? And they're like, oh, because it's a plant eater. And you're like, well, plants are just toxic. Most plants are chemical warfare machines. That's what they do. So don't do that. But yes, you can quote me on the sarcasm organ meat butt plug for prostate problems, because they're probably going to sell it. Anyway, so Carol, I hope that helps. But the charcoal and the lactospore and working on the potassium and topical magnesium and zinc and selenium and molybdenum, just start slow on them and see about that going up. Because I mean, like, as an example, we could just go, let's go zinc leukocytes. PubMed. So it becomes evident that redox inactive zinc is the main supervisor in the conformation, the shape of the most important molecules in all body organs and tissues. Wait. Let me repeat this for the people in the back who are like, giving copper the love treatment. It becomes evident that redox inactive zinc is the main supervisor. Supervisor is pretty important, right? In the conformation, the shape or structure of. The main supervisor in the conformation of the most important molecules in all body organs and tissues. And there are people out there like, oh no, zinc is scary. Oh no. I'm sorry, that's going to end badly for you. And here's another paper, The Significance of Zinc for Leukocyte Biology. Zinc deficiency, as well as levels well above normal due to high-dose treatment, which we don't do, showed an impaired immune function. So we were talking about white blood cells. So just within this one little search about zinc, zinc increases the adhesion of leukocytes to the endothelium. And the chelation taking away zinc, purposely taking away zinc, the chelation of zinc ions markedly decreases the leukocytes' activation. So, just this one mineral that we talk about constantly, pretty important. Okay, so that would be that's just zinc. I could go do selenium. I could go, molybdenum's probably not going to show up because they hardly do any research on molybdenum. Probably because it's too important. And so they don't want to do it, but don't go and overdose molybdenum either. So anyway, that's what I got. So some people come in, and I'm just going to be honest, some people come in and they wanted the Love Your Liver program is a do-it-yourself program. This doesn't mean that just because somebody's doing it, and we have people come in and they're like, I'm not going to take any supplements. And I'm like, that's cool. You could be like, well, I'm never going to add oil to my car, and I'm just going to keep driving it. And eventually your oil gets really, really dirty, and eventually you run out of oil, and eventually your engine seizes up. If your car needs oil and it needs the oil to be changed, that is the way your car is designed. And if you do not do that, your car will fail. It doesn't matter what your philosophy about it is. I haven't said this in a while. Your physiology doesn't care about your philosophy. Your physiology, the way your body works, does not care about your philosophy, your opinion of it. Just throw this at vegans who are like falling apart. I don't want to eat animal products. Okay, you're falling apart. Your physiology doesn't care what your philosophy is. The copper lovers, we don't like zinc. Zinc is scary. Okay, cool. You're gonna slowly kill yourself or quickly kill yourself. It's just the way it is. So there was another. But that's what I got. Like those would be three things I would work on: activated charcoal, make sure lactospore, and then zinc. And then think about, Carol, if you did anything that's like an agitator before this happened. Like, did you exercise a lot before this happened? Did you get exposed to a lot of sunlight or a lot of heat? Like, were you sweating? Let's say you went and you did like a long sauna session that you normally don't do, and then all of a sudden after that, heat and sweating can cause a bile dump. Or did you have a big stressor before it, and then you dumped a bunch of bile, and then you felt it in your pooper, So if you had those things, then that can just be it was a trigger. There was also very recently, there was tons of space weather, like not this last weekend, but the weekend before was really bad. So if it was like 2 weekends ago, for any of you listening, not this last weekend, but the weekend before that, and the like 2 weeks before that, if you felt terrible and you were having symptoms come up and you're like, where is this coming from? This is old stuff. Why is this coming back? I have no idea what's going on. What am I doing? Space weather was absolutely terrible It was so about a week and a half ago. So if you went back about a week and a half, and then for the 2 weeks before that, space weather was absolutely horrible. Now, if you don't know about space weather, I have articles in the Love Your Liver program about it. When you know about space weather and you start seeing the sun throwing off multiple X flares in a day, and then you start going, I don't feel good. Or maybe you don't feel good, and then all of a sudden then you see the X flares pop off and you go, well, that's a weird coincidence. Every time these big solar flares pop off, I don't feel good. None of this has anything to do with what you believe about what the sun is or what the moon is or what's illuminating what and whether they're far away or close. None of this has anything to do with that. If we can know that the moon affects the tides, right? The moon moves the ocean in place, right? So if the moon can move the ocean, it can probably affect you. And then if the sun is what it is, it can affect you. That would be silly. Like if we're sitting here saying man-made cell towers can affect how you feel. Okay, so the giant burning ball in the sky, do you think that could affect how you feel? Probably. Why would we not think so? So people, if we think that solar flares could basically destroy all electricity using stuff on the earth, if we popped off a big solar flare and it hit us just right, why would we think that solar flares couldn't affect how we feel? You see what I'm saying? So anyway, if those of you who know about space weather, if you want to make comments, kind of that date, so like a week and a half ago from today, so that would that's what about 10 days? So maybe like the 24th-ish. I don't remember the dates, but I'm looking, it's the 5th today. So, but it was, yeah, like 2 weekends from now back, and then the 2 weeks before that, it was rough. People were feeling terrible. So Carol, if you just had, if this episode was in that time frame, people were having all sorts of nasty stuff pop up. If that has kind of faded away and it hasn't happened again, that points towards the space weather again. So let me get in here and see if we have any other, but thank you for the super chat. I hope that helps, Carol. I hope the troubleshooting helps. I want you all to remember whenever I'm talking about stuff, I tend to talk in like the royal we. So Carol, I'm not necessarily talking like directly at you. If I'm saying don't do this, I'm talking to everybody. And I try to say it again so that I'll repeat myself. You guys know, if you've seen enough of these live streams, I repeat myself over and over because that's how humans learn, right? And if you missed me talking about it one time, I'm going to talk about it again so you have it. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, Evan says, hi, Dr. Smith. Are you familiar with inositol hexaphosphate, IP6? Several health claims like correct iron levels, kidney function, glucose metabolism, bone and teeth health, mood, etc. Thoughts? Well, it's phytic acid. I mean, let's go look this up. Inositol, is it hexaphosphate? Inositol hexaphosphate is also called phytic acid. It's funny how they call it inositol hexaphosphate or IP6 instead of just saying phytic acid. Why don't they just say phytic acid? So it is kind of a mineral chelating agent. When we talk about, so let's go in here. What do we talk about cancer being? Cancer is toxicity storage tissue. What does cancer have a ton of it in it? A ton? Copper, we know that for sure. If you guys don't know that there's tons of copper in cancer tissue, there is tons of copper in many, many cancer tissues. Now, inositol hexaphosphate plus inositol induced complete remission in stage 4 melanoma, a case report. Now, we know that inositol will deplete, or phytic acid will deplete zinc. We know this. Let me do this. Let's do inositol. Wait, let's go to PubMed. Let's just go to PubMed. I never looked this up previously. If it were me, I don't know if what Kelsey would say about this, but if I was going to use inositol, I would probably use inositol hexaniacinate instead of inositol hexaphosphate. But anyway, let's just see if it chelates copper at all. That would be a weird coincidence, wouldn't it? Inhibitors of copper bioutilization. Oh, you bioavailable copper people aren't going to like this one. Phytate. This is IP6. Phytate is phytic acid. So they're saying things that make you not able to use copper. Bioutilization, things that make it so you are unable to use copper. And didn't they just say that? I just told you that copper, tumors, many cancers have tons of copper in them. Cancer is toxin storage tissue. Phytate inhibits copper getting into and being used by the body. Phytic acid, IP6. What did it do here? Induced complete remission in stage 4 melanoma. Are you putting it together? You copper people are killing yourselves. Absolutely just sending yourselves to an early grave. I'm sorry. How many studies do I have to show you when you're relying on a guy's made up theory of bioavailable copper? Made up theory. And I sit here hammering how toxic copper is in the research over and over and over and over. And then we make connections like this. Phytic acid, IP6, inhibits copper bioutilization. So it would be making non-bioavailable copper. And it would be making it so you don't absorb copper. And then we get results like this. So anyway. Now, the problem is with chelation approaches. These are not, fiber and, okay, so for like the people out there who are trying to say that you can't use psyllium or you can't use beans or you can't use sun fiber because they might have copper in them. We're running tests on sun fiber right now to see what the actual copper content is because that's the kind of things that I do. Other people are out there claiming it has to be high in copper because when they don't have any testing, which is kind of dishonest. But so fiber inhibits copper utilization. Phytic acid inhibits copper utilization. We don't want to use tannins. Tannins tan things. You do not want your gut lining tanned. Do you think tanned skin, they call them tannins because they use them to tan leather. If it tans leather, what do you think it's doing to your gut lining? Don't do that. It's going to mess up your absorption. But anyway, fiber and phytate, gosh. I just saw somebody showed a video the other day. They were like, the guy was like, don't eat oats. It's gruel and it's got tons of phytic acid and it'll suck up all your zinc. And I love how they only pick one mineral. So if you had a high copper food that was high in phytic acid and fiber, what's it doing again? Oh, so you mean the fiber doesn't get in and it's not utilized? Some people can't get past the 1 + 1 = 2. We kind of skip forward ahead on this. So anyway, so if, let's say, here, let's go do a fun search. Let's go do this. Let's go do phytic acid. Let's just see if it soaks up bile. Wouldn't that be interesting? I do know that just before we go into this paper, I do know that beta-glucan it does dump bile. Bile acid binding of oat beta-glucan, huh? But that's not IP6. Okay, so phytate did not increase the bile acid binding of beta-glucan. Viscosity. Viscosity of the soluble beta-glucan had the main effect on bile acid binding. We've been over this. I'm going to say it again. The more a fiber gels, like when you think of gelling, if you think of putting psyllium fiber in water and then it gels, that's like the most obvious example. Okay. But if you made oats, let's say you make oatmeal and then you let it sit and cool, it thickens, it hardens, right? It gets thicker. That's it gelling. It's less gelled at a higher temperature, and it's more solid gelled at a lower temperature. You make refried beans, same thing. The more a fiber gels, I forget if that's high or low viscosity. I think it's low viscosity, but either way, I'm not worried about. Don't worry about the viscosity term. All you need to know is this: the more a fiber gels, the better it binds bile. Right? So sun fiber, as I've explained before, but I'm going to explain it again, sun fiber dissolves in water, clear and tasteless. If you were to really pay attention to the water's a little thicker because you put some stuff in it, just a teeny tiny bit thicker. But if you've ever had psyllium, you know that psyllium and sun fiber are on like opposite sides of the map. Sun fibers doesn't really thicken the water very much at all, and psyllium you'll have this pudding, this like slimy gel pudding, which means that psyllium soaks up bile like crazy, and sun fiber doesn't soak up bile. We're using sun fiber to help your gut biome. It feeds both bifidobacteria and it feeds lactobacillus, and those are the two big ones, and that's what we're trying to do with it. It's a gut bacteria food. So we see here phytate didn't increase the bile acid binding. Okay. Interesting. So remember, I'm just looking here to see if phytic acid would bind bile. So we have bile acid binding capacity of modern and old bred wheat varieties. We're going to wrap up here pretty soon, so if you want to do any more super chats, get them in. Modern wheat varieties had the highest average total dietary fiber content and bile acid binding capacity. Land races. Okay. I want to see more about the bile. See, again, this is what the studies say. In vitro model to correlate viscosity, how thick a fiber is when it's hydrated, right? So psyllium isn't thick until you hydrate it with water. And the bile acid binding capacity of digested water-soluble and insoluble dietary fibers. Maybe I'll just save that paper because I'd like to look at that. And the grinding. So anyway, wait, let's do this. Wait, I don't know if I looked in here. Phytate. Phytic acid, a blessing in disguise, a prime compound required for both plant and human nutrition. Your ability to get living is dealing with poisons. Okay. We are taking in things every day that we need for sustenance, but these things that are coming into us also come with toxins in them. Right? You don't get to eat red meat without taking in a lot of iron. Do you probably need to get rid of some of that iron? Sure. So just eating even good things is going to require detox. So you either do things that facilitate, so you're either what we're trying to do here is we're trying to put in the least amount of toxins and facilitate the detox system. And to get enough of the essential minerals, especially plus nicotinic acid, flesh niacin, to run the system. We're not trying to put in multivitamins and B complexes and giant green drinks because those put in more toxins than they take out. So anyway, let's see. Was there anything else I wanted to go over on this? I mean, I think the phytic acid is okay. So let me give you another example. Joe, you could come off of this. My mom, when in her early days of her Parkinson's-like syndrome, I don't know if we're ever going to fix it. I think there's mindset things in the way. I think maybe just we got to it too late, living on a golf course for 6 years and the pesticides that they were spraying. I don't know if we can get her out of that. Like sometimes you can't turn an old car into a new car. And sometimes cars are kind of too far gone to fix them. I don't know. I still have high hopes, but I just don't know that it's going to happen. So anybody in health has to realize that at some point things may not get better, but I can tell you that my mom is maintaining over years. She's not supposed to. They don't expect that at all. So I take maintaining as doing something very good. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, took her in to do IV chelation with a local ND here in town. I didn't do it, so I took her to somewhere else. And I like to have other people, work on family members. Working on family members is hard. If you don't know that already, it is. So we went. Of course, he did a test beforehand, and she's got toxic metals. And I was like, okay, sure, yeah, who doesn't? So run the 10 chelation things. She doesn't feel any better. She wasn't getting any better. She wasn't doing any better. And afterwards, I think months after that, I ran a blood test and hair test on her. She had the lowest zinc of anyone I've ever tested. And I was like, oh, crap, that chelate. I mean, what did she do different than the other people I worked with? Well, she did IV chelation. Chelation, when you start going after minerals, like something that goes after copper, can almost always go after zinc too. They tend to take up the same slots in cells. So, chelators always grab good minerals. They always grab good minerals. 2, glyphosate is a chelator made to descale industrial boilers. It grabs all the minerals, especially the good ones. Don't ever think that you're doing chelation and it's just selective for bad minerals. It's not at all. It's not. It's like brute force. And this is why a lot of people feel worse after chelation. It's because so think about it. Maybe they had a toxic metal problem. Maybe they didn't. But you take enough chelator and you're going to go low on your good minerals. So now they just induced a deficiency in themselves. Whereas the approach that we use here, we take good minerals, which then kick out the bad minerals. And now you have a good mineral in the place that the bad mineral used to be. And then your body then you have the other minerals to protect you from the toxic metals that are being kicked out. And then that can hopefully get out of you, like we're doing things to bind it up, like fiber, like foods with some phytic acid in it. So I don't think the inositol is the big part of the IP6. It's the structure of it. It's phytic acid. It's a natural chelator. And as you just saw, it naturally chelates copper, and it's connected to helping with cancer. Do we think this is a coincidence around here? No, not a coincidence. But if somebody did a ton of IP6, or let's say like my mother, where we had been working on copper toxicity for a long time, she didn't have a ton of copper around. So if you don't have the copper around, and I'm telling you that copper and zinc are very similar and they get bound by the same things, does it make sense that if she didn't have a lot of copper coming in, that the chelation would go after her zinc? So it's going to go after whatever's there. So if we're not putting in the bad stuff, or it's not there, it's going to grab the good stuff. This is just how it works. So yeah, I don't like chelation. The only chelation that I may do in terms of that will be zeolite, specifically made by Kelsey Kenny, her Turanian treasure store. She does make a zeolite that is cleaned of any toxic metal. So if you didn't know this, you can buy most of the time when you're buying zeolite, it has not been cleaned. So that means whatever the zeolite was exposed to out in the world, it grabbed onto it. It's still in there. There might be lead in it. There might be cadmium in it. That doesn't mean you're going to absorb it, but it means that that spot is occupied, so it can't grab stuff. It doesn't mean it's going to put it into you. It means that you can't use that slot, that electrostatic slot in it. Like when they talk about charcoal having little, pits in it where it electrostatically attracts things into it. Well, if all the pits were full, that charcoal would be useless, right? Or if the pits were 50% full, that little charcoal molecule is not as useful. Well, Kelsey does two things with her zeolite. She cleans it so that there's no previous toxic metals left in it. And she makes sure to kind of, in the chemical way that she does it, she can get rid of any broken cages. Oh, Kelsey says the store is back open. Yes. So if there's any broken cages, zeolite cages, they kind of talk about them like that. What is zeolite made of? Silica and aluminum. Okay. Some people want to freak out that there's aluminum in it, but normally if the cages stay patent, if they stay stuck together, you're not going to absorb any aluminum. But what Kelsey can do is she can clean out any broken cages so that there's no free aluminum in there. So she's taking all the 5 new items in her store. Yes, great. So she's making a better zeolite. Now, if you don't know, zeolite is cloudy in water. Let me repeat that. Zeolite is cloudy in water. It will always be cloudy in water. So if you are buying a zeolite product that is clear, there's like almost no zeolite in there at all. It'd be like if somebody tried to sell you clear milk. They're like, oh, this is milk, but it's just clear. And you're like, there's no, milk is white. You can't make milk clear because there's stuff in it. Not that we're promoting milk. I'm just giving you an example. You'd be like, wait, milk is white. I don't think you're selling me milk. Well, zeolite is cloudy in water. It's never clear. So the only way that you could ever have clear zeolite, I remember when I first started talking to Kelsey and she was talking about the zeolite products that she was working on and how some people wanted her to make a zeolite product that was clear. And she's like, you can't. And I was like, right, you can't. It's cloudy. So if you were to go and search for zeolite on the internet and you come across ones that are clear and they're bragging about them being clear, there's like fairy dust worth of zeolite in there. Maybe not much at all. You cannot have a clear zeolite, or it's not zeolite. So anyway, we had a couple of other chats. Let me get to those real quick. One of them was just John Dickinson being funny, as he likes to do. Okay. Headwood asks, is plasma selenium ever a useful marker to monitor one's selenium status during the gap between doing a hair mineral analysis every few months? I have found blood selenium, plasma selenium, serum selenium to be basically useless. I don't use them at all. I don't have a good range for it. And I only like to use selenium, like blood minerals in conjunction with the hair minerals. So and the other thing that happens with people, like if you thought you were overdoing it, sure, run the blood test. But otherwise, selenium takes a while to refill. So then what will people do? Oh, I'll just take a bigger dose. I'll fill it up faster. And then you go, oh, well, so you're taking more of a risk of getting into selenium toxicity. That's the problem with bigger doses, when people just go, just push it. You go, well, you may push it, right? Like if you want to fill up a cup under your sink, you can turn the sink on full blast. Let's say you get a little distracted. Is the glass going to overfill and spill quicker than it would have if you ran it at the normal speed? Yes. So when you start overfilling, can you do too much of good minerals? Yes. This is why we test. We want to know if we're getting enough. We want to also make sure we're not doing too much. Usually selenium is fairly, the doses we use, the typical dose that we use is 150 micrograms, which is too much for some people and not enough for some others. But this usually, we like to see it over time, like over the 4 to 6 months that we do the hair test. So could you do that test? Sure. Might it give you information that you make a poor decision on? Sure. Sometimes like the too many cooks ruins the soup saying, too much information, too many tests too soon can have people making too many adjustments all the time. So it's kind of like the let him cook. You just got to let it ride sometimes. And this is why working with a practitioner who has seen lots of tests and seen lots of people is pretty good, instead of like where you're the N equals 1, you're the experiment, and you've never experimented before on anybody. Then you don't have any data and patterns to go on. So that's the reality of the situation. So thank you for that super chat. Headwood, yes. Okay, Eric Crone. I'm breaking out from magnesium Magahol. Is mag oil way worse? Okay. So first thing, I would always suggest for people to watch my topical magnesium video, because I talk about troubleshooting on there. I talk about troubleshooting problems with the topical magnesiums. Now, Magahol is basically magnesium chloride in a clear alcohol. If you are reacting negatively to topical magnesium like Magahol or magnesium oil, and it's called magnesium oil, but it's just magnesium chloride in water. Couple of things you can do. First of all, if you just don't like it, you can just stop, or you could use a different area. So always think about that. The different areas of skin are very, very different. Like doing the inside of your forearm where it's smooth and there's no hair, that's a real, like inside of your arms, those are where they're just really smooth and hairless. Those are good areas. I like those the best. Rubbing it on hairy areas it's just kind of like, so then if you're breaking out from it, first of all, you can always do less sprays in one area and do more areas to get the number of sprays you're trying to get. Magnesium oil, it depends on if it's the magnesium chloride. So Joe put up the live stream that's got the magnesium one. You can always dilute the magnesium chloride more. You can use fewer sprays in an area. There's all sorts. Different areas will help. You could put lotion on before you put on the Magahol or the magnesium oil, or what I tend to do is you put the magnesium lotion or the magnesium oil on, and then you put lotion on right after it. You could also mix some aloe vera gel into the Magahol or the magnesium oil. That's kind of like its own little moisturizer. Then you could always do the Nutrition Detective magnesium lotion, which people who have had problems with all the topical magnesiums practically before have said that this one doesn't burn, it doesn't sting, it doesn't itch, it doesn't break out. Like a lot of other magnesium lotions, people will break out from them because they've got coconut oil in them. Coconut oil is very pore clogging. We didn't put any coconut oil in ours, so we don't have that problem. So yeah, you can do foot soaks, you can do baths, you can do all sorts of things, but the basic troubleshooting is that. So if you can figure out a solution based on what I mentioned and what I talk about in the other topical magnesium video, that's great. I mean, the Magahol and the magnesium oil are kind of the lowest cost options on topical magnesium approaches, but they also have the most issues in terms of like sensation, like tingling or itching or burning, or the dry skin problem, or leaving the powder. You know, if you don't absorb all the magnesium, you might have the dry magnesium chloride powder left on your skin. You may not get along with the alcohol in the Magahol. Some people may not want to do the alcohol that's in the Magahol, even though we're talking about like 20 to 40 sprays worth, not crazy amounts of alcohol. And some of it's going to evaporate off your skin, obviously. So, is mag oil way worse was part of your question. It totally depends on the people. I actually think Magahol is less irritating than magnesium oil. So there's also double strength magnesium oil. Make sure you made the single strength magnesium oil, which is 1 cup of water to 1 cup of flakes, versus the double strength magnesium oil, which is 2 cups of magnesium to 1 cup of water. And then the Magahol, if it's the recipe on the Love Your Liver program, that's about as concentrated as I could make it. So if that's not working for you, you could just try diluting the Magahol like 50% with water and see if that fixes the issue. Or you could dilute it with like some aloe vera gel or something like that. So that's what I got. But lotion can also help that. The magnesium lotion will solve the problem. So that's what I got. Okay, so let's go into, let me find, but thank you for that super chat. And then we have, let's see, John Dickinson, more echinacea and organ meat plugging, please. Yeah, that was kind of, a little out of pocket, right? Life, if life is not funny to you, then it's sad, right? If life is either going to be funny or it's going to be really sad, so make it funny. But yeah, these organ meat jokers, boy, they're not making life funny for people. I just don't understand how people out there can honestly be like, the liver doesn't store toxins. And you're like, this takes 2 minutes of searching PubMed. 2 minutes. Not even 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And remember to use the word accumulate. So I think that's all of them. Let me just double check. I'm just double checking the super chats. Kelsey was talking in the live chat, so if you guys want to look up any updates from Kelsey, she's talking in there. Kelsey is on Twitter as Naya Source, if you want to follow her. Oh yeah, since we talked about zinc and red meat, just one tip on when you're picking your red meat or your dark meat chicken or white meat chicken. So the leaner the cut of red meat, the more zinc it has in it, the more iron it has in it. Okay. Basically, dark meat chicken is going to have more zinc in it and more iron as well. So take that for what it's worth. So Evan, we did the phytic acid. Thank you for that super chat. Hedwood, we did the selenium. John, the plugging. And then Eric, we did the Magahol. But yeah, Eric, if you're in the Love Your Liver program, which I think you are, asking that question there may get you some help from people in there who have specifically tried those things before. But then again, there's also the live stream where I go over magnesium. So it's we've done lots of troubleshooting, and sometimes as we were saying before, sometimes things are unsalvageable. Like sometimes you just don't get along with certain approaches, and that's why we've got like 6 or 7 different approaches for topical magnesium. I know Kelsey's working on a magnesium niacinate gel, which she really likes. I think she's sending me a package of it here pretty soon, and I'm going to test it out, and we'll see how that all goes. But I think if she's got it in her store, she's got it in her store. If you want to ask her, go ahead and ask her. I think she's still perfecting it. So I'm sure she'll comment here if she's still on the live stream. So let's see. I think that's it. Okay, so I got to get to the Joe. I want to say, if you want to check this before you put it there, I think Kelsey's the mag gel needs more testing. Okay, good. So just so you guys know, like if you've ever tried, oh my gosh, some of the other brands of magnesium gel out there, like magnesium chloride gel, they're absolutely the worst. Magnesium gels are the worst magnesium product I have ever tried. It's just a bunch of gums and water and magnesium chloride. And it's like if you ever thought mag oil made you itch, and I think when those gels would dry on your skin, like they'd kind of tighten up, so you'd have like a tight feeling. Yeah, Kelsey Kenny 144 on Twitter is her handle. Niasource, Kelsey Kenny 144. So, yeah, the normal magnesium gels are just awful. But Kelsey's magnesium gel is magnesium niacinate, and she says it's great. She's still working on the formula, getting it just right. Good. We take, one of the things I like about Kelsey is she takes her time to get things right, just like I did with the magnesium lotion. 18 different formulations to get it right. We want it right. We want it the formula we want, and we want the qualities that we want as close as we can get them. Obviously, the ingredients are the most important thing. Here's a fun thing. If you ever go to a website and you're trying to find the ingredients of like a supplement, and it takes you clicking through 5 pages, that's dishonest. Oh, Sarah's saying Kelsey stuff is amazing. Yeah, if you go here, if you see the magnesium lotion, like the ingredients are on the page. They're in one of the pictures. Like you should be able to go to a supplement site. Like what is it's like somebody was talking about, why can't restaurants, like who designs restaurant websites where you have to search all around to find the menu and the hours? They're like, they'll tell you all about the style of cooking and the ambiance and all this stuff. And all you want is, where are they? What do they serve? And when are they open? And you can't find that on the first page. So when I go to a supplement website and I can't find the ingredients of that supplement on the very page I'm looking at for that supplement, when I go to their homepage and they're selling us whatever that homepage for that supplement is, and I can't find the ingredients there, that is dishonest. Don't buy that stuff. Yeah, Pierre says the more the business hides the price, the more likely it is to be expensive. That's true. Generally, I would say yes. I know Buttercup says, but Doc, the site looks good. Generally, the better marketing somebody has, the crappier the product. I don't have great marketing. I've got people working on it for me, but I admit my marketing is not great, and people give me suggestions all the time. You should do this, and you should do this, and you should do this. And I go, it's not my style. And I'd rather work on the product and sell a good product. And as you guys notice, and most of you out there, we see this when I endorse somebody like Sarah, the EMF lady, Mind Body Balancing Florida, FL, mindbodybalancefl.com, I think is her website. But anyway, when I endorse things, people already know here that they can trust me. They know that I'm going to make products that they can trust, and that I'm going to, if I refer people like to Kelsey or to Sarah, they know that these people are good because I'm not some slimy, shady marketer. I like not being good at marketing because then you're here for the message and not for the bullshit. I'm not here to hypnotize you into wanting to do this. I'm here saying, here's how it is. Like the idea of bioavailable copper. They even took the word and use it wrong. Bioavailable copper is any copper that gets into your body. That's the definition of the word. If it's in your body, it's bioavailable. It's available to your body. This can be good and bad. Toxic metals are bioavailable. That doesn't mean they're good. So anyway, Oh, Zendog wants more memes, less marketing. Yes, we do. Actually, Leilani is our social media person for the most part. And I think she's been doing a great job on the memes out on like our Instagram page and stuff like that. I sometimes I don't even Julie reviews them, and sometimes I see them later and I'm like, oh wow, that's really funny. I really like that. Because I got so many things going on, I don't always have time to check it. So okay. So that's all I got. Okay, I'm gonna go do the inner circle now. So I got to go answer the questions for the people who are in the inner circle. The inner circle is inside the Love Your Liver program. It's a separate fee. You can ask me all the questions you want in there, like philosophical and stuff like that. And then if people have troubleshooting questions, that's the testing and consultation package. So anyway, nutritiondetective.com. If you want any of our links, they're all down in the info below. And we will see you next time. I'm going to have a good topic this next week. I just don't know what it is yet. So hope you all enjoyed that. Have a great week. Bye now.